All right, so question now is rising oil prices. They're up $10 already. They may go more. Are they going to reignite the entire inflation story? They're going to inflame it. Anyway, listen to what our pal Dave Bonson said about this yesterday on this show.
It's the one area where you don't see disinflation right now. And energy could disrupt the narrative, and we'll see how serious the Fed is. Are they targeting core or headline? Because headline's been coming way down, and they keep raising. Now with core, it may be coming down, and the oil going the other way. So I just think that this is a very bad narrative for the Biden administration of oil going higher. You could see 85.90 if China were to come back to a more normal capacity.
All right, here to talk about all that is John Carney, Breitbart economics and finance editor and co-author of the daily Breitbart Business Digest and Much Read. John, welcome back. What do you think of that? $95 oil.
I think
It's not that far out. That will wreck the CPI story, what he calls the CPI narrative.
Absolutely. And I think it's actually not just oil. So first of all, the only reason oil is as cheap as it is because China's been lagging behind. China's about to put a bunch of stimulus into the economy because politically, Xi Jinping cannot afford to have the economy be growing as slow as it is. So they're going to come back. Oil's going to go up. But it's not just oil. Look at what's happening to home prices, up 4 months in a row. So that's not going to be weighing on CPI much longer. That's about the shelter's 40% of CPI. So we are going to have a resurgence of inflation that is going to disrupt everybody's narrative. Everybody said inflation's coming down. I don't think we have real reason to believe that inflation will continue to come down from where it is right now.
So therefore, neither will interest rates, and the Federal Reserve will continue to. We're going to get our 6% Fed funds rate, aren't we?
I think we are.
That was the John Taylor, one of the iterations of the John Taylor rule many, many months ago when he was on this show. That's why I mentioned it.
Right. We're headed tomorrow to a hike. But the question, and the Fed has signaled that they want to hike one more time. I actually think that what's going to happen is when we get a resurgence of inflation in the next couple months, what we're going to see is the Fed is going to have to do the thing that nobody in the market expects right now. It's going to be really disruptive to everything, which is they're going to have to hike again in the first quarter of next year, and people will be shocked.
So you're not that crazy. I know we're going to talk to Mr. Wonderful about the stock market, but you would be a little worried about this stock market rally 12 days in a row, which is nice. I like the middle class, the non-rich getting rich. I think that's cool, but you're saying it may not last. By the way, I was interested, you were writing up that S&P Global PMI. My first question, first of all, it was very mediocre. I mean, services were soft. Manufacturing might have been a little better, but it's still underwater. Is that a reliable gauge? Is that better than the ISMs, for example?
So it is more.
We don't know that much about it.
Right. So it is more focused on domestic U.S. businesses.
Yeah.
The ISM takes in more global, big U.S. businesses that go all over the world. So the S&P Global is probably a better read on what's going on domestically in the U.S. And that was pretty weak. The services part in particular, yes, as you said, the manufacturing was a little higher than expected. But look, services is a bigger part of the economy. It was weaker than expected. However, I have to, that disappointed me. But the inflation numbers in there were still very sticky. So even weak services wasn't bringing down prices. And then if you look at today's consumer confidence numbers, they surged higher. So I'm not sure what exactly is happening. Businesses might be expecting a slowdown, but consumers right now are still spending a lot of money.
Yeah, but you know what? I looked at those numbers. They are still way below pre-pandemic.
Well, we don't have you in charge anymore, Larry. When we went back in 2019, we had a much better.
You were at 140 on that index and in round numbers. Today's 120.
Right.
So I just can't get that excited about it. It's like real wages falling, you know? I mean, all these things, they're way below the pandemic. So even this S&P Global PMI thing, they're looking for 1.5% growth. The index of leading indicators says we could be going into recession. You know, John, don't forget, we had 2 negative GDPs in the first half of last year.
Right.
That is a recession, at least by some definitions. And the question is, are we going to double dip into a second recession next year?
I think we will be in a recession next year. The question is when. Right now, we look like we're growing 2%. Again, we grew 2% in the first quarter, probably 2% in the second quarter. We'll find out later this week. I don't think we enter a recession this year. I used to think it was going to be first quarter of next year, but we're so strong right now on so many things. that I think we're
2%'s not strong.
no, it's not. What I mean, though, is too strong to actually go negative until probably the second quarter of next year. So I keep pushing this back, which seems ridiculous because we keep saying the recession is coming. It's just not coming yet.
And what is this? The Barbie Oppenheimer Hollywood boom.
Right.
By the way, I saw Oppenheimer. It was very good. It was an hour too long.
Yes.
Hour too long, but very good.
But you and I
Absolutely very
love
good.
that period of time, and
Yes.
that was
Yes.
amazing. I wish a lot of people were I saw a lot of people dressed in pink going to the Barbie movie. I wish everybody was wearing fedoras to go to
I didn't see,
Oppenheimer.
I confess I didn't see the Barbie thing. Oppenheimer was very well done. He wasn't a communist. He was a lefty, but he was not a communist. He never signed on to the but he was the father of the A-bomb, and he helped kill World War II. And I don't know, why it had to have that the third hour, his battle with Strauss or Strauss. I didn't really understand.
That seemed like a very strange focus for the movie for me.
Yeah,
I
it was
thought,
just too weird. But did a lot of people go to it? That's the point.
So the big point is people
Read in
are
the
still
cash
spending
register.
a lot of money. People still feel very well off. When you get these this was, I think, maybe the fourth biggest weekend ever.
Good.
And if people are spending that kind of money, it
We need
means
it.
they're not afraid that we're about to tip over into a recession.
The saintly wife and I went to the theater
Into the actual theater.
in Bethel.
Nice.
It's now called the Greenwood Theater. It used
Yes,
to be the
yeah,
Bethel Theater or something like that. I think it's the first time I've been in a movie theater in several years. I got to get out there all screaming at me. John Carney, the best of the best. Thank you very much.